mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about episode 9 of the FX and Hulu limited series The Patient, entitled Auschwitz. Before I get started though, I want to talk about social media a little bit. You guys see down in the Chiron here, I have my Twitter username, at One Mic Network. And I want to encourage all you guys to follow it and to search One Mic and follow me on Facebook as well. Reason being, one, I plan on incorporating social media a little bit more into what I do. So if you follow me on Twitter and you tweet me like, hey, yo, I'm from, I peeped your YouTube video, I'm a fan, I've been a fan for a minute, whatever the case may be, I'll follow you back on there. And I think it's good because it'll allow me guys to interact with you in a unique and different way. But also, like, I'll make announcements on there that I won't make videos for, because I'm not going to make a whole ass video and be like, hey, blah, 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 blah. Like, for instance, when I stopped recording videos for Rings of Power, I made a post on here, but I don't know how YouTube really handles text post. Like, like you might have to be subscribed for notifications to get it. I don't know how it handles that. People saw it, but not a lot of people. I got questions about my Rings of Power's coverage, but I also posted that on Twitter and Facebook, and you guys generally don't follow, so you wouldn't know. So I just want to start by saying I encourage you guys to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook, and if you follow me on Twitter and shoot me a tweet saying like, hey, I'm not a bot, I'm here from your YouTube page, I'll follow you back. So I just want to get that out of the way. And I'm ready to talk about this episode. And I thought this was a solid episode. I'm going to talk about it, but I'm starting to see, I think, a little bit more clearly why at times this show works and at times it doesn't. And I'm going to save that for the end, but I think ultimately this dynamic is going to kind of be, I'm working under the assumption that I'm right. So I'm sitting here like, this dynamic is going to be a learning lesson. Like I'm some fucking brilliant fucking scientist who understands what you need to do to make a productive TV episode or season. But how I feel about it, I think, is a lesson in, if you wanted to take it to heart, how to do something like this successfully, where you're doing 25-minute episodes, but every 25-minute episode doesn't end in a fucking Game of Thrones red wedding. So I have some thoughts on the show at the end, but I'm going to start talking about the episode because there's some things here that I found interesting that I wanted to discuss. The episode starts with this dream that Alan is having. He wakes up this guy named Viktor Frankl, who is an author. He wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And Alan uses this book and this dream to kind of implore Sam to find meaningful relationships. And that's a general premise behind this episode, the work to find a meaningful relationship. And I just want to kind of point out the fact that this is the meat of the episode here, the idea that Sam needs to find a meaningful relationship and he has this brunch with Mary. This feels like an early season idea. Like, this is the episode that you have on episode 3. This didn't feel like penultimate episode plan. Like, and I don't know, there was just something about that was like, oh, this is where we're going on. Like, I feel like on the episode 9, we're just like, we got 2 episodes left. They're going to be 25 to 30 minutes. We need to, we're hurtling toward the conclusion here. And for him to be like, you need to have a meaningful relationship. They're like, he can't develop a meaningful relationship. This is episode 9. But anyway, more interesting though, I think, with the Viktor Frankl angle, the Frankl angle, more interesting with the Viktor Frankl angle is the quote that he gives Alan in the dream. And he says to not wake him up because the dream is better than the reality. And I think that's interesting because a lot throughout this entire season, we've seen Alan sleeping. When I say, I don't mean like we've like sit and watched him sleep, but there's been a heavy emphasis on when he gets up, when he goes to sleep, and that the idea of the sleep being comforting, but only in retrospect, I find to be kind of interesting. Like, man, that was a great 8 hours of time in which I didn't have to be scared as fuck for for all of time. Like, but you don't think about that while you're sleeping. You're like, man, peace. Now I don't have to worry about being killed. No, you're just asleep. So like for you, that time doesn't really exist. You go to sleep and then you wake up. That 8 hours is gone. I'm assuming he's not getting 8 hours. But then that means he has to wake up, and you have to wake up and be like, oh, right, I'm still down here chained up. What the fuck? Can I go back to sleep? And I don't know. I just found that to be an interesting quote from someone who experienced the Holocaust like Viktor Frankl did, and just the idea of like, I'd rather be asleep than be awake because being awake fucking sucks. And I don't know. I just thought that was a really interesting quote. But as Alan wakes up from the dream, he makes this last-ditch effort that I thought was kind of funny to prevent his demise by telling Sam that he doesn't think that Sam should change therapists just yet. And I love that Sam sees through this right away. Like, I see what you're doing. Like, it's not going to work. And then Alan cops do it right away. Like, yeah, I'm a human. What can I say? I had to try something. And I thought that was a nice dose of reality, because that's how that interaction would have actually happened. Like, I'd have been irritated if Sam bought it even for a second. And then it took maybe like a slip of the tongue for from Alan for Sam to go, you almost got me there. Like, that would have bothered me. So I'm glad that immediately Sam called bullshit on, and Alan was like, just fucking with you. I knew you were going to buy that. I don't know why, but for some reason that was really funny to me. This episode had a couple of funny moments, actually. So in the interest of finding meaningful relationships, Alan suggests to Sam that he should have brunch with Mary, his ex-wife, and they should set up a nanny cam so he can watch. Also, unbeknownst to Sam, Alan is continuing to sharpen his foot cream knife, which he plans on using, and he expects Mary to call the police. So he plans on stabbing Sam with this foot cream knife, which, by the way, trying to stab him like through clothes with the end of a foot cream tube, that seems dumb. Like, the whole time I'm thinking he's playing a throat slash, which seems way smarter and way more effective. But hey, what do I know about killing motherfuckers? Nothing. But when Alan tells this plan to Charlie expresses doubt in this plan. And keep in mind here, Charlie is really just Alan's subconscious. So this is Alan not being confident in his own plan. But in the interest, I think this episode raised an interesting question, though, which is Alan really buying into his ability to help Sam? Like, does he doubt this plan because he doesn't think it'll work, or does he doubt this plan because a part of him deep down still believes that he's made some progress with Sam, still feels like he can help, and doesn't really want to kill him? And I think that would be something that's buried deep down. Like if you were to ask Alan, like, hey, do you feel like you can help Sam and that's why you didn't kill him? He'd be like, no, I just pussied out. But like, I think deep down, there's something here where he does feel this empathy. Empathy has been a theme throughout this entire show. We see it with Sam, which I'm going to talk about when I talk about their terrible brunch. But, Alan had this opportunity, and he had it good. Like, the neck was right there, like, just right there for the stabbing. Like, man, he had it clenched in his left hand. Just reach right around, right across there. Done, over, you're free, it's done. And he couldn't do it. And I don't think it was because he was scared, even though I liked how he tried to, like, push out that one push-up and failed. Like, I think I would lose the guts to kill somebody, too. Like, if I'm chained up and I'm like, yo, when he come down here, I'm, like, gassing myself up. When he come down here, I'm gonna fuck him up. I'm gonna cut his throat. And then you try to do a push-up and can't. You're gonna be like, maybe I'm not cut out for this killing shit. But, like I mentioned, brunch goes terrible. Sam gives maybe too thoughtful of a meal to Mary, to where it's like, okay, you inviting your ex over, but then he's like, oh, I can't get, I'm giving you this, and I know this is your favorite, and this makes you break out, or whatever the fuck he said about the Indian food. And that it's interesting too that Alan had to tell him that first, like, hey, maybe give her something she likes. But again, this shows Sam's effort, and this also and Alan sees this. So like, if we're leaning into my idea that maybe Alan is hesitant because he feels like he can do this the right way, seeing Sam bring Mary this food that's specifically for her after he advised him to not give her the Indian food shows progress. And then he's got the bagel and lox, which feels like a very stereotypical meal to give Alan. But again, it's the effort, right? It's the empathy. Like, oh man, maybe I should be giving motherfuckers food that they might want and not what I want, which I've been posing the question about if Sam's eating habits were going to come into play. And he does constantly get what he wants, and then he shares it with Alan, which is what he's been doing all season. And this is the first time I think, and they don't really emphasize this, but I think this is the first time that he thinks, what would Alan want as a Jewish man? And he goes, bagel and lox. And I mean, it's again, it's the thought, it's the thought that counts, right? And Alan didn't eat it for whatever reason. I mean, he was busy, plotting, murder. But I mean, I still think that says quite a bit about the progress that him and Sam are having. And then I think that speaks to why Alan struggled with making the move at that time. But like I said, the brunch goes terribly. There's long silences at the beginning. Sam tries to tell the joke that Alan told him about the Jewish guy wanting to die of old age. It fails miserably because why wouldn't it? Especially when that's the first thing you said. And then he tells about his dad beating him. And this is just perfect brunch conversation, right? You pass me some pancakes and a mimosa with a whole bunch of shit in it, or a fucking Bloody Mary. And yeah, also my dad beat the shit out of me. Like, not really great conversation. But after brunch, Alan states something that kind of irritated me about this episode was the episode 1 fucking obvious fucking conclusion that, hey, maybe you're killing people because of what your dad did to you. So when you're killing these people, you're killing your dad. Like, fuck, man. I've done precisely 0 hours of... Actually, I can't say 0. I did take a psychology course in college, but... give or take. I've done precisely 0 hours of psychology studying. And that was very much a no shit comment. Like, I feel like that's the obvious cereal box therapist fucking conclusion is like, oh, your dad beat you, that's why you kill people. Like that's where I feel like you start and then you evolve into a different place. That's not where you land at episode 9. But what ends up happening is that Sam plays a video of Edmund Kemper, who is a real guy. And if you haven't watched Mindhunter on Netflix, I implore you to do so. And that's just a tie-in to the Kemper thing. That Edmund Kemper is featured in Mindhunter, and it's absolutely incredible. But they watch this video where Kemper deduces that because of his hatred for his mom, he wasn't fixed and he didn't lose his desire to kill until he killed his mom. And that causes Sam to arrive at the same conclusion, like, hey, maybe if I kill my dad, cut his head off and fuck his skull, then I could be cured of my sickness too. And then he ends like, nah, I'm not actually gonna fuck his skull. But that's where we end the episode. And now I kind of want to talk about where I think this, not necessarily this episode, but where I feel like this structure for the show, I think kind of failed. Not I don't want to say fails, but why it doesn't stick the landing, I think would be the perfect way to put it. And you have these short episodes, you expect each week to be more impactful. So if you have an episode like this one that kind of felt like, this one wasn't 25 minutes, I think it was 30, 35 minutes, but 30 to 35 minutes of build up for something that didn't happen in this episode, like it feels weird when there are 25, 30 minute long episodes. Build up episodes are fine if you're not waiting a week to get a short one. And I think that's where the problem comes in. So like each week needs to feel like it was worth the wait if I'm only gonna get like a 25-minute high. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's how people chase the high, right? You get high as fuck and you're like, oh, I need to feel that again, and then you chase it. Like if I'm only gonna get this 25-minute dose, the dose needs to fucking hit, right? And if I have to wait a whole week to get a 25-minute episode of build up, I feel like that's where the whole season is gonna feel like this. Like we're just up and down. And I feel like that structure might be better suited for a binge. Like you put out all 10 episodes, and then when you have the build-up episode, I can go, all right, let me see what happens next. And then maybe that episode is explosive, and I'm like, all right, I'll take a break, whatever. But like it leaves me feeling a little empty when I wait a week for the second to last episode thinking like shit's gonna pop off. And this whole episode was build up for next week. And it just feels like, okay, well, fuck, now I'm waiting 2 weeks for something to happen on this show. And I feel like that has happened multiple times throughout this season. 10 episodes felt like a stretch because of that. Like if you wait a week and you get a build-up episode, and then you wait another week, you get a good one, your body and your mind is like, okay, it's been 2 weeks since I had an eventful episode, and we're doing these 25-minute episodes each week, and it feels like this could have been either a 10 episodes, same thing, 10, 25, 30-minute episodes as a binge, or maybe 4 to 5 episodes released week to week, or if failing that, maybe even like a 2-hour movie. But like just this, like waiting a week for 25 minutes of build-up just doesn't really work for me, and I think that's where I think this show is struggling to really like get me fully bought in where I'm like, I love this shit, or like I can't wait for it, because every week I'm like, I don't really know what I'm gonna get. Like I really expected to get something pretty fast paced, pretty action packed, not action packed like fucking like car chase scenes and shit, but eventful. And I got 25 minutes of build up, 35 minutes of build up actually. So, you know, I feel like we're going away from the binge model, but I don't know, just waiting a whole week for a build up episode feels kind of like a ripoff, right? You know, like I waited a whole week for that, and it's like I walked away from it kind of just like, well, I could have just waited another week and just watched the 2 episodes at the same time and got what I need out of an episode of television, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how I feel about this episode, but be that as it may, I'm still very much looking forward to the finale. I think it is going to be really good, but at the end of the day, I do stand pretty firmly on my idea that this show probably would have worked better with, say, 5 one-hour episodes as a full binge, or maybe even just as a movie. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Actually, don't let me know what you think in comments. Well, do that too. But tweet me, like I said, at One Mic Network, and I will see you guys next week for the finale, episode 10. And until then, peace.